I recently read a quote by an MD of a bank that I can't remember that said, if you want a job, work from home. If you want a career, work from the office. And it got me thinking, is working from home harming your career? In this video, I'm going to share the pros and cons of working from home versus working in the office and share what I believe the golden ratio for hybrid working is. One thing that working from home is good for is deep, focused work. I find doing things like prepping for workshops, writing decks, complex Excel modeling, anything that requires proper, dedicated focus is best done from home. Because when you put that do not disturb on, you literally do not get disturbed. The other thing is it allows you to change up your environment. As you can see, I'm not in London this week. I am escaping the heat wave by coming down to Dorset. And I don't know if you can see this in the background, but there is actually sea views out of this window. I don't think you can see them on the camera, but they're there, I promise you. And even though I am absolutely working just as hard as if I were in my home in London, once I've finished for the day, I can go for coastal, countryside runs and just enjoy chips on the beach and almost feel like I'm on holiday and recharge in a different way once the working day is over. I think this is an underrated, underutilized opportunity of working from home. If your life situation allows, it doesn't mean you have to be tied to your exact home all of the time. You can switch it up and work from different places. Some companies allow you to work anywhere in the world, and some companies don't allow that, but there are loads of great places in what for me is the UK to explore anyway. I truly believe that off the back of this better quality air, more exercise, just general change of pace that being in this environment has made me, I am producing better quality work because of it. And lastly, we have reinvesting time. Look, we do a lot of traveling in consulting. It's just part of the job. But actually, when we save ourselves those 4, 5, 6, maybe even more hours a week that we're commuting, we can reinvest it into other things. For me, I would rather be spending the time running or cycling or reading or making these videos than sitting on a hot, stuffy tube if the reason I'm going in is purely to do exactly the same type of work as I would be doing at home, equally to the same standard anyway. And look, don't get me wrong, there are ways of making your commute more productive, but look, let's be honest, there's no substitute for just having no commute. I've made it sound like the dream life, right? Well, maybe not so fast. Because there are some drawbacks to purely working from home. Like it or not, there are some meeting types that just don't work purely remotely. These are things like workshops, where you need everyone in the room to be contributing. It's much harder to be able to get these to work effectively when everybody's remote. I mean, tell me if you identify with this. Everyone joins a call, you lose the first 5 minutes, and my camera's not working, my internet's dodgy, are you turning your cameras on? Are you not turning your cameras on? No, can't hear you. Hello, are you there? I mean, you end up losing at least the first 5 minutes of any of these workshops or any of these meetings with those issues. Therefore, you've already chopped off 5 minutes of what could have been productive time. And then we talk about engaging people. I mean, if you were sitting in a room and you were actively on your phone or doing other things on your laptop in the room whilst everybody else was contributing to a workshop, you wouldn't do it. It's rude. But somehow when we're working from home, it's so much easier to get distracted by pings, notifications, and you can't force people to shut their laptop lids to avoid that because, well, then they're disconnected from the meeting. So then retaining people's attention remotely becomes really hard, which means that people ask people to repeat things again, and then you lose even more time in people repeating because they weren't listening in the first place. Which means you have to do one of two things. Option 1, make the meeting longer to accommodate these inefficiencies, or option 2, reduce your agenda because you know that the time you think you have, you actually don't really have at all. And that means that you end up having more meetings or longer meetings. And I don't know about you, but one thing I feel like I don't need in my life is any more meetings. And then there's relationships. I find that when I'm mostly working from home, my interactions with people tend to be pretty transactional. What I mean by that is it's mostly either you need a thing from me or I need a thing from you, and we're going to talk about that thing, and not any of the getting to know each other stuff that sits around it. You miss those little interactions that you get when you're just having a coffee, and you realise that you don't really know these people as people. You know them very much as colleagues. And maybe I'm just a corporate robot and you don't identify with this, and that's fine. But I do think that building those long-lasting, in the trenches relationships is best done when you are face-to-face. And lastly, we have finding it difficult to draw the distinction between work and home. Personally, I believe that the theory working from home equals slacking is absolute rubbish. Sure, there will be people that slack when they work from home, and we can't all be productive all of the time. But I do believe that when you blur the distinction between where you work and where you have your home life, it can be really difficult to switch off. I know that I personally really struggle with this. And actually, when I work from home, I end up working longer hours than when I'm in the office, because maybe I'm cooking and an idea comes to me, and I personally have my desk set up in my lounge because I don't have anywhere else to put it. So I see my PC and I think, you know what, I'm just going to quickly get that done. Or I feel like people might be thinking, maybe she's slacking because she's working from home. So I feel the need to overcompensate for that. And really, the only person that's losing out of this situation is me. But I feel like I'm definitely not alone in this. And honestly, sometimes I feel like I've turned my home into just an alternative office. So now I'm just living at work. So now you're thinking, ugh, I never want to work from home again. And why would you, when you can go to the office and have better collaboration? You can have all the stuff that goes around the actual work, the bonding through getting lunch together, getting a coffee together, those chats that happen in that micro time between task switching or in between meetings. And you can have that mental shift between work and home. And whilst I'm not a fan of a long commute, I do think that some commute helps to actually decompress from the day and make that mental gear change between work mode and home mode, so that when you get home, you can actually be more present. Yay! Let's all go back to the office! Okay, again, maybe not so fast. Because firstly, we have the cost. Now, we've already talked about the time cost of commuting, but also financially. It's expensive to go into the office. If you're taking some form of public transport to commute, that costs money. If you're driving your car, that costs money and pollutes the planet, but let's not talk about that. And, you know, maybe you can walk into the office or you can ride your bike, in which case, well, good for you. But actually, the vast majority of people can't. And even when you're there, you're tempted to go out and buy lunch. And sure, you can take your own lunches, etc. But, you know, we all fall foul of wanting to get a cheeky Nando's at lunch or whatever. Maybe that's just me. And maybe you're buying coffees there, and it's just more expensive to do this. And then we have the interruptions. So in a pre-pandemic world, I was once at my desk trying to do this really complicated task that needed my focus, and I put my do not disturb on. Then someone came to my desk and said these exact words. I saw your do not disturb was on, so I came to your desk. I mean, why? Why would you do that? Eventually, I learned that I had to actually go and hide in a tiny space on the 3rd floor around the back of the ladies' loos to actually get any peace and quiet to do focused work in the office. And I mean, what a pain. When you're constantly interrupted by people popping to your desk for just a quick question, the quality of your work goes down because you've had to context switch, and that makes you more prone to making mistakes. Everything takes you longer, and I don't know about you, but when stuff takes me longer than it should do, I get frustrated and then I want to rush through it, and then I make mistakes. And it's just really, really annoying. And lastly, we have presenteeism. If the last few years have taught us anything, I think it should teach us that simply showing your face and being productive are not the same thing. Our energies naturally rise and fall throughout the day, and when you're working from home, you can flex the type of task that you're doing, or maybe go out for a bit of a walk, and it's just easier to be able to have a little bit of flexibility so that you can align doing your best work with the time at which you do it best. And that means that your overall quality of output is much better. And I feel like there's a place for coming into the office, but going into the office for its own sake seems a bit futile to me. So what is the golden ratio for hybrid working? Well, actually, it's driven by need, not by numbers. So it's going in for the right reasons and being clear on why you're going there or why you're working from home. Because balance is actually a behavior and a feeling and not numbers. For me, for example, in June, I was actually in the office quite a lot. And yet in July, I'm yet to step foot in an office. Overall, my productivity hasn't dropped and the quality of output hasn't dropped. It's just been different types of work that I've had to do. But overall, they all add value. I hope you found this video useful. Share your thoughts on remote working, hybrid working, all in the office. Share your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, please smash that like button, hit subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you in the next one.